Just by looking at the boxes, I could tell this product is going to fail within a year or two. The real problem is that once it starts gapping or breaking, it's almost impossible to fix. You will end up having to slap glue all over it again, or in the worst case scenario, to rip the whole thing out. On the other hand, if you care about your family's health, there is one specific spec I would never skip. It's Hi everyone, I'm Andrew, a flooring contractor here in Orange County, Southern California. Let's just start with the thickness, 8, 10, 12 millimeter and so on. This refers to the board itself. Nowadays, many products come with a pre-attached pad, and some brands will market it as 14 millimeter by including the pad. So, is thicker always better? Well, in my experience, as long as the installation is done right, 8mm is more than enough for a typical home. I've seen 8mm floors last over 30 years without any issues. Thickness isn't really about quality. It's more about matching the height, leveling with your other floors. If you have a thick stone or tile in your kitchen, you want a thicker laminate so you don't have a trip hazard. On the flip side, if you have linoleum or you're doing a layover, installing right over the existing tile, then a thinner board is actually an advantage. It's all about what fits your specific job site. Next is the protective layer. All laminate uses aluminum oxide. Think of it as the hard crystal found on the sandpaper. How thick the layer determines the rating, AC3, 4, or AC5. We test this by spinning a sandpaper wheel over the board. If it lasts over 2,000 rotations, it's AC3, 4,000 is AC4, and over 6,000 is AC5. Now, here is a very important fact. The AC rating is measured of wear resistance, not the scratch resistance. I often hear salespeople claiming that because it's AC5, it's a scratch proof. That's just not true. If you take a knife to it, it's going to scratch every single time. For a typical home, AC3 is usually plenty. If you have high traffic areas or large pets running around, AC4 is more than enough. In my opinion, AC5 is honestly overkill for a residential setting. If you're choosing between two similar designs and one is more expensive just because it's AC5, save your money. You will never see the practical benefit of a commercial grade in your living room. Now, let's talk about the final boss of the specs, Green Guard Gold. If you care about your family's health, this is the one spec I would never skip. Ever since the 2015 lumber liquidators scandal rocked the United States, regulations have become much tougher. Even back then, CARB standards existed, but they weren't being followed. Today, CARB 2 is the legal requirement for selling in the United States. It limits formaldehyde to 0.05 ppm, which is already 10 times stricter than old industry standards. Then you have floor score, which is even better because it tests for about 35 different chemicals. But Green Guard Gold takes it to a whole different level. It tests for over 360 VOCs, and the formaldehyde limit is pushed down to an incredible 0.0073 ppm. It's not just a flooring spec, it's a safety standard for environments with the sensitive populations like schools and hospitals. If a product has this gold label, it's safe enough to leave on the second it's installed. Regular CARB 2 products are fine, but I still recommend extra ventilation for a month or two. Now, let's talk about the hottest spec on the market, waterproofing. On the box, you will see ratings like 72 hours, 300 hours, or even 720 hours, which is a full month of a resistance. These aren't just coated on top. The HDF core itself is treated to be water repellent. You can actually see the difference. If you look at the cross section, these newer boards are usually dark gray, a huge departure from the old natural wood colored ones. But here is the fine print. Even if it says waterproof, the warranty usually won't cover moisture rising from the subfloor or the full-blown flood. It's strictly for top-down spills. To see if it was legit, I actually submerged the board in the water for 2 full weeks. When I pulled it out and measured it, it had only swelled by 1%. It was invisible to the naked eye. I had to use the precision tools to even detect it. When I snapped it back together with the brand new pieces, it fits perfectly with the zero gaps. Honestly, the technology they're putting out these days is mind-blowing. Next, make sure to check for EIR, Embossed in Register technology. This is my personal favorite spec. It's a technique where the surface texture perfectly line up with the printed wood grain, giving it the highest level of realism. When EIR is done right, even someone like me who battles with the flooring project every single day can barely tell it apart from real hardwood just by looking at it. On the other hand, without EIR, the grain and the texture won't line up. It just looks like a fake plastic flooring, especially when the light hits it at an angle. Lastly, the locking system. The locking systems that pros trust the most are Unilin or Valange. These technologies are so well proven that other manufacturers pay royalties just to use their patent. Ironically, the one system we pros avoid like a plague is the drop lock system. Even though it's the easiest to install, the locking joints are incredibly thin and brittle. If your subfloor isn't perfectly flat, those joints will snap and gap under the weight of your footsteps. And if you make a mistake during install, forget about taking it apart. Those thin clips will just shatter and you will end up throwing the material in the trash. To be honest, this system is designed specifically for DIY users. It's made this way so a beginner can just drop it into the place and be done with it. That's why you will see large flooring specialty stores pushing this locking system so aggressively. While it's the fastest and easiest method for a weekend DIY project, from a pro's perspective, it's the only system we cannot offer a warranty on. That's why we simply don't recommend it. Here's another pro tip. Check the Stairnose. There are 2 types of it. There's overlapping, which sits on top of the plank, and flush Stairnose, which creates a seamless level transition. If you are walking barefoot, that raised edge on the overlapping nose can really hurt the ball of your foot. And honestly, it looks pretty bulky and outdated. Overlapping is definitely easier for DIY, but for a high-end finish, always go for the flush option. Also, keep in mind that these moldings are often made in different factories than the flooring itself, so the colors might not match perfectly. Always compare them with your sample before buying. And here's something crazy. Some products don't even offer a matching molding at all. You'll be surprised how often people buy a floor only to find out they have to go hunt for something similar enough to make it work. It's a nightmare. Now, let me ask you, do you know what's even more important than the technical specs? At the end of the day, it's the design. Thickness, locking systems, waterproofing, they all matter, but the floor has to look beautiful to your eyes for you to truly love it long term. Here's another pro tip to avoid the major mistake. Never decide based on a tiny sample chips. If possible, bring a large sample board home. Trust me, it will look completely different in your house than it did in the showroom. Make sure to look at it during the day and at night because the color shifts significantly between natural sunlight and your indoor lights. Better yet, order one full box and lay it out. I've seen so many homeowners open their boxes on installation date only to be shocked that it looked different than what they imagined. Checking this now will save you from some serious buyer's remorse later. Lastly, like I've mentioned in my other video, the underlayment often dictates your daily experience even more than the board itself. Whether the floor feels solid and high-end under your feet or hollow and clicky is almost entirely determined by what's underneath. When you are picking out your laminate, please make sure to check the specs on the paddings as well. The difference in feels is truly night and day. I have a short video right here on how to choose the right underlayment, so definitely check that out. Today, we took a deep dive into specs you will see when you're buying laminates. If you know how to read this properly, you won't fall for flashy marketing and you won't end up overpaying for things you don't need. What are your thoughts? Did you already know all of these? I'd love to hear your experiences, good or bad, with the laminate floorings in the comments below. I'm Andrew, a flooring contractor here in Southern California. Next time, I'll be back to show you how to read specs for SPCs and engineered wood. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.